Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Daniel Lim. I'm walking through the streets of Edinburgh. My Scottish boy MV Chew. Hope you guys are well. Chew, I'll start with you. You were killing me over the weekend with the puns and similes regarding Robert Guerrero's fight against Peralta, the UberDriver. It's a shame to see, Guerrero's decline, but give us your thoughts on the fight and, give the listeners some of these similes and some of these puns as well.
All these other podcasts, they've got the interviews with the boxers and stuff. Well, I've got a fucking exclusive for you guys right now. I've got an interview with Peralta right now. Taxi! Taxi! Nah, no one wants it. Nah, the taxi driver stopped there and he fucked off. He must think he's a boxer as well. But really fucking thinking about the fight, it's ironic that he's called the Ghost because Peralta just walked through him. And I don't know what fight that Steve Farhood was watching because he had Guerrero 4 rounds up after 4. And I was like, what? It was a close fight, don't get me wrong. I respect Guerrero's heart. He's a warrior, of course. He's never really in a bad fight, but I really think that the way that his career's digressed, as he's moved up in weight, his boxing skills have really evaporated, and really the time when you want to use your boxing skills is against the bigger guys, and he's done the opposite. I really feel that he's tried to adopt a fan-friendly style, and fair play to him, he's been getting the millions the last couple of fights, but he's not been winning. Even the fights he's won, he's not really won. So I really feel sorry for the guy in that sense that I don't think he's got the kind of never say die attitude. He's not going to quit anytime soon, but I really do think it's time to hang him up. What do you think, Cam?
I was really disappointed in his performance, Peralta's style, he was quite tall for the weight. He was massive height-wise, and he had that reach. But he was very basic, I thought. He had little tells before he was going to jab. You'd see his hand pull backwards. And Guerrero, I just thought, fought the wrong fight. Like the last few fights, Guerrero was like on your chest, inside fighting, hooks and uppercuts. And I think that's what he needed to do against Peralta. But instead, he decided to kind of box him and use the jab to the body. But he was just throwing single shots, and he just resorted to trying to counterpunch. And the problem was Peralta was throwing, shots in combinations, and Guerrero wasn't effectively counterpunching him. And I hate when, boxers put their weight on the back foot, and Guerrero does that a lot. And there's a lot of issues with it. First, it reduces your mobility, so if you are trying to evade punches, you just can't get out of the way of him. And obviously, It affects counter punching as well, because you got all your weight in your back foot. You can only pick a few shots to counter with. So I was really disappointed in Guerrero.
Yeah. No, you know what it is, Cam. You see, the thing with Guerrero is he can't really close off the ring, but it's like he goes right up to the guy. He goes right up to the guy, gets to about mid-range. It's like whenever there's like a gap between the two boxers, he kind of hop steps it to him, gets to about mid-range, and then he just stops. And then I don't really understand why. He's got a habit of doing that. He done that against Floyd as well. It's like he overestimates his reach.
Yeah.
He's always just missing his punches. Yeah. Like Ricky Burns has got a habit of doing that as well. It's like, it's like a guy parking his car outside your front door but never actually chapping your door. He's peeking through the window of your house, and then you come outside your house because you see a guy peeking through your window, and it's like, who the fuck is this creep? That's fucking Robert Guerrero. He's quite a... There's something brave in the way he steps into the ring and he throws down, but in a way it's like the best work he does is inside, but he doesn't like to go through the fire anymore to get to that, body shot range.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, is like a sign of a shot fighter. You're not prepared to go through the pain that you once did. Like, he is a warrior, don't get me wrong, but I feel kind of sad because I really just feel that he's kind of phoning it in at this point.
No, me too. And I just think he would have more success if he could make 40 at 140. I just think there would be better fights for him out there because every fight he's had at 47, he's always looked a bit fleshy and he's never really looked cut up. So
exactly. I said that. It says, for a guy who does CrossFit, he's not even fit.
No,
he's got this fucking belly. He's got a little bit of muscle definition around his biceps and stuff, but even at 140, I think he's too small. I really, compared to some 140 guys, like your fucking the fucking Ukrainian that Crawford just fought. He's small compared to him. I just think maybe even lightweight.
Postal, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but I'll get to Dan's opinion in a minute. I just got a question for you from Shams1000 in the chat too. He's saying, do you think him not getting a new trainer hindered him? Just working with his pops.
Absolutely. I think family loyalties are so. People, if they're going to pay 10% of their purse to anyone, they want it to be their family, and it's almost as if there's some kind of sentimental value to someone who showed you your first punch, your first combination. It's almost as if it's like a kid's blanket.
Yeah.
They can't get to sleep without the fucking kid's blanket, and if they don't have the blanket, they can't get to sleep. If they don't have their pops there, they can't box. And we see it so often in boxing. Sometimes the hardest thing to say is no to your fucking family members.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter if it's boxing or it's life in general. And I don't really blame him for that. But yeah, of course it is. Just look at him, he's digressed.
Yeah. Dan, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you guys?
We're good, thank you. You had the opportunity to go to this fight. I don't think you did. Give us your thoughts on it.
No, Cam. I was trying to think of something fun to do with a girl that I've just been going out with. I know I've told you about that many times, but I kept thinking, do I want to get ringside seats to this fight for $40? And I said, fuck no. I don't want to go to this fight. I mean, come on, man. The three A-sides in this fight were Terrell Geisha, and then freaking Alfredo Angulo and Robert Guerrero. That's a pretty easy pass for me. I think we've already spent way too much time on this fight. We've spent 10 minutes talking about David Peralta versus Robert Guerrero, which is enough time in my opinion. But I mean, if I just could give my 2 cents, I think Guerrero's career is very fascinating because when he was at 126, he was a damn good fighter. And he was heralded. I mean, if you guys don't remember, he was supposed to fight Shane Mosley. And that was supposed to be his coming out party. So just think about that. About 5-6 years ago, HBO was setting the showdown for Shane Mosley to hand over his reign and just transfer, I guess, his star power at that time to an up-and-coming prospect in Robert Guerrero, and just think where his career has fallen. And I'm asking you guys because I'm curious, where did this regression first occur? I'm curious because even up to the Berto fight, he was still considered a top 10 welterweight, which is pretty incredible. But I want to ask you guys, do you know what was a reason behind him moving up weight classes from, I think, 135 or 140 to 147?
Did he not skip 140 altogether?
Yeah,
but that's what I'm thinking. That's what I thought, yeah. And I think we had this conversation a long time ago, too. I think when we were talking about guys like Abner Mares who move up too quickly to get those big fights. And this is the worst case scenario in that scenario, which is someone going up a weight class that they don't belong in to get that big money fight, and their body's not being able to readjust to the lower weights where they should have been their entire career. And I think Robert Guerrero is a classic example of that. And so I don't really want to talk about the fight too much. I didn't think Guerrero got robbed by any means. I feel bad for Guerrero because I think he's such a bum at 147. And it's a shame because he was a really, really good fighter at the lower weight classes. And at the same time, I don't care how good his chin is. To me, what he does after the fight, after the Garcia fight, after this fight, after the Floyd fight, saying that he got robbed, saying that, he won the fight in his opinion, and his father acting like a fucking clown, it's getting on my nerves. His career should have ended a couple of fights ago. And for him to have gotten the opportunity, I think from what I heard from other people, that if he had won this fight, he would have gotten the shot against Errol Spence, to me is fucking laughable.
Yeah,
That's pretty much everything that's wrong with the sport right now. You got
absolutely.
fucking bums. You got bums like Robert Guerrero getting recycled over and over and over again for
That's
these
the
up
word.
and coming prospects. That it doesn't prove anything. You know, Guerrero's career should have been ended a couple of fights ago. He has no reason fighting anymore. And I completely forgot he fought against that fucking Japanese bum too, Kamagai. I mean, Jesus Christ. I'm just done with Robert Guerrero. I just want him to end his career. Hopefully he has $4 or $5 million in the bank to provide for his family. I know his wife went through a lot of shit with cancer. I don't know if she's still going through that. So I hope he has enough money to take care of his family, because obviously that's the most important thing in life. But when it comes to him fighting, I don't want to see that shit anymore, man. Like, these kind of fights kill it for me. I hate watching these fights, and I hate having to discuss them as an opening topic on our show, man. This should be something that we talk about 5 minutes, in hour 2 of our show, not the opening topic.
Well, guys like Robert Guerrero are just as important to PBC than a guy like Errol Spence, because PBC needs opponents, they need names. At this point, Guerrero is just a name, and like you said, Daniel, he gets recycled. They should just put that universal recycling sign on his trunks, the 2 arrows going around in a circle. Just put that on his trunks, because every time he's had this easy fight to build himself back up again, he ends up losing, but they still recycle him. It's almost as if it's like a Men in Black kind of light just gets flashed in front of the fucking boxing fans' eyes, and they just forget what just happened. And it's actually a bit fucking creepy. It's like propaganda. I was listening to the commentary of that fight. By the way, how much does that Jimmy Smith sound like Max Kellerman? Sometimes that freaks me out as well. But to be honest with you, they keep overemphasising what Guerrero was doing in that fight, and kind of they weren't knowing what Peralta was doing. But I definitely think that if anyone was in the driver's seat, no pun intended, it was Peralta. He was controlling the tempo of the fight. He was landing combos, and really I never felt that Guerrero had any kind of momentum in the fight. He's got this horrible habit of having to plant his feet before he throws a punch, and I just thought that Peralta was more fleet-footed, and if anyone was the fucking taxi driver in there, it was fucking Guerrero. And when you get to that point, it's time to retire. But to go back to Daniel's point, I just really think that back when Guerrero was fighting Michael Katsidis a couple of years ago, he looked like a beast, like an absolute beast. He fucking put on a Betty Ford clinic to Katsidis. Katsidis, this is like a prime Katsidis. He knocked him down. Katsidis did. He knocked Guerrero down, but he never got the knockdown awarded to him. But it was a heavy knockdown, and back then Guerrero was like the boxing fans' favourite, like not really mainstream, but like one of these kind of cult following guys who, if you knew boxing, you knew Robert Guerrero, and he was like the truth. Now it's kind of sad to see how he's evolved. It's almost as if he's kind of, I'm not going to say he's sold out, because he's got what he wanted. He's rich now. He's getting millions for these kind of fights. What more do you want, Robert? You're not going to be. His career is going to be end up a disappointment, because he's not going to be Hall of Fame. He should be Hall of Fame. With that talent, he should be Hall of Fame. But he never quite got there, unfortunately. But he's rich. So what is it? He's got that big bank balance. He's not probably got the kind of critical acclaim that his talent deserved. Shame. So it's a real fucking shame. What do you think, Cam?
I just wanted to answer Lim's question earlier about, why did Robert skip, 40 and go to 47, and Shams 1000 and Raphael 22 in the chat responded with, mainly money, because he did take those 2 years off to look after his wife, and 47 was the money division. So hindsight, like you said, Chu, he's made the money. Obviously he's fucked up his legacy, but sometimes money comes first.
Yeah, family comes first. So all respect to Robert for doing that. And I just want people to know, when we're criticizing Robert Guerrero, we're not talking about his personal life and everything that he sacrificed for his family. We're strictly talking about the fighter that he's become, and he's 2-4 in his last 6 fights. I mean, that pretty much says it all. And even the 2 victories that he had, I think, were it was a very close fight against Kamagai, who is again not a good fighter. and a very controversial decision in his victory against Ramirez. Not Ramirez, but that Martinez, exactly. So, and it's unfortunate. And I just want to go back to what Chu said about Robert Guerrero being a staple of PBC, but I think that's exactly the reason why this PBC model is fucked up, is even when Keith Thurman was fighting Robert Guerrero, to me, that wasn't a noteworthy fight. You know, they were trying to herald that fight as some kind of coming out party for Keith Thurman, and this was going to solidify his legacy at 47. And to me, that wasn't the case at all. You know, Guerrero, he's been washed up for so long, and honestly, his track should have ended there. You know, but the fact that Heyman continues to recycle this guy and tries to showcase his up-and-coming 47 prospects to the world through Robert Guerrero, to me, is laughable, man. And I don't want to see him fight anymore. And I really want this upcoming 12 months for PBC to actually take place between their top prospects, man. I'm done with this showcasing bullshit. I don't want to see that stuff anymore.
I agree, Dan. Kev jumped on the line. Are you there, Kev?
You might not be able to hear me. I'm on the beach. I was just dialing in.
You're always on the beach.
Hey, Kev, you can't... Hold up, Kev. You can't say anything until we get your transfer fee from Lukey. So,
on the humble brag, on the beach.
I'll get my people to talk to your people, and then we'll settle this like grown men. All right?
All right.
So
and then we'll beat people.
Yeah, so did you watch his banger?
Yeah, no. I watched after I found out he lost so I could watch it, but like you said, I haven't wanted to see Guerrero even from the Thurman fight. I was the same way. Like, there's no point. It's like Gabe Rosado at that point. You know he's going to lose. What's the point of watching it? Like, he's washed. He was never good at welterweight. And, like, I don't know. Your boy freaking waxed poetically about him before. Like, he's like a borderline Hall of Famer type of guy. Like, I don't know. I just think that was the most well overblown, like, Robert Guerrero freaking career highlight. I don't think he's that good. I haven't wanted to see him for a while. And this guy did us a favor. Now we don't got to see him fight Spence next because you knew that was going to probably happen.
Yeah. What I will say, though, is that back in the day when Robert Guerrero was at 126 and 130, you know, everyone from the wild card said he gave Manny his best sparring. Yeah. So people were fucking.
And he was good there too, because he was big, he was long, he moved well there. Like, he threw a lot of punches. Here, he's just like a plodding, slow, you know, guy without power. That's a tough guy who's got heart and a good, decent chin.
Yeah, he had a beautiful left hand back in the day, man. He had a lot of fucking pop on that punch, and I don't know. I think this is one of the very, very, very rare cases, in my opinion, where a fighter just something went terribly wrong with his progression as he moved up in weight, and I know that. That's kind of too easy of a pass to give a fighter, but I really do think that's what happened with Guerrero, because I've seen Guerrero, like, in person, man, when I was 17, 18 years old, man, and he was a beast. Like, just watching, he was one of those guys that just stood out.
Look at his father as his trainer. If he was a part of, like, an elite gym around other elite guys all the time, as opposed to being the man at his spot with his dad, who, like, I don't know, the real deal if you ask him. I think that's what blunted him.
He's a David Koresh. The boxing, you know, he's got his little cult thing going on in Waco, Texas. You know, he's just fucking got his own gym. He's got his own fucking people around him. I think he's gave up on the kind of competition side of boxing a long time ago. He's just kind of, he's just phoning it in.
Yeah, and he cashed out. He made a lot of money. Like, I think he's 0-6 his last 6 fights, but he made probably well over $6 million in those fights total. So, who's to say, you know, he made a mistake or not? But I personally thought he was 1-5. Basically 1-5 in his last 6. So, and I could make a case for Kamagai.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. So, I don't know, man. I'm done with this fight. Hopefully, this is Guerrero's last fight, because I don't want to see him fight anymore.
You know it's not going to be.
You know what would have been really ironic is if Peralta gave Guerrero a ride back to the airport. You know, he was like, I need a taxi cab, and the Peralta's like, I'm your man.
Save my number.
All
right.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Should we move on?
Yes, we should.
The same statement you just made then regarding Guerrero, I just feel exactly the same about Angulo. Lim. That Angulo fight was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, please share your thoughts, Cam.
He just at that weight, up at that weight, his punches don't seem to have the same effect. You know, I've seen Freddie Hernandez got dropped many a time at 154 by 154 pounders, and you know, he wasn't hurt once by Angulo, and you know, he was just plodding forward. Hernandez was just going clockwise, and Angulo was just kind of following him around. No snapping his punches. In the first like 5-6 rounds, his range was really off as well. He was falling short with a lot of his punches. His jab is like, it's like he's got nothing on his jab at all, and he kind of pushes it from the chest, but he doesn't got no snap in it. And I don't know. I really like him as a person, but he's up at a weight I don't think he should be at, and I don't know. I don't really know too much about his new training team. I think he was always a bit better with the Whisperer. And
Cam, I'm sorry to interrupt, but why do you like him as a person?
I don't know. He just seems like one of those
He hasn't
guys.
been the same since that kidnapping, man.
So Rebecca,
Fucking, I was going to say that.
His
Rebecca
career went
got
downhill.
yeah, I just
No, but
think,
why do you like him as a person? Because he takes punches to the face.
no, I don't like
Got a
him
smile on
because
his
I don't
face.
know. I just thought when I saw some of those programs with him behind the scenes, it just seems like a guy that cares about his family. Similar to like Guerrero, the same kind of story. It's quite ironic that they're both on the same card. That you know, they're both family men, just want to make money, provide. That's it. I like those type of guys. It's just a shame that they're not really performing in the ring.
I see what you're saying. I just think that Angulo is a guy who has maximised everything he could get out of the game. You know, he's another one who has got a good bank balance, I would imagine. You know, he's had some big money fights, and to be quite fucking frank, he's not really had a win to deserve that. And yeah, great, he's a family guy, and you know, respect him for in that sense. You know, he looks after his family, but in terms of like a fucking boxer, you know, I've never seen a guy who eats so many left hooks. You know, really, in some respects, you know, you would think that keep your fucking right hand next to your chin. How hard is it? You know, fucking. I know it's easy for me to fucking say I'm not a professional fighter, but that is your flaw. Everyone can see it. Everyone throws that punch against you. It's actually painful watching that. You know, I was watching that fight on Saturday, and I was like, this is like two underage kids in a nightclub. You know, they're in a weight class they don't belong. They're getting a lot of kind of suspicious eyes because, quite frankly, they're on a PBC card on network television, and you know, it's not like it is like a club fight on a big stage. And
Yeah.
there's nothing. It kind of, without sounding too negative, it is kind of like a summer fight. So it's like the downtime in boxing, but it shouldn't be on television, that fight.
No, I've said it in the past. Some of these fight cards are like Friday night fight cards, the old ESPN version. But Dan, did you see Better Angulo plodding around for 10 rounds?
No, I didn't.
To be honest,
Pero is like he's worse than Guerrero in my opinion. I mean, how is he fighting at 168? I mean, honestly.
I think it was a catch rate like 166-ish, but yeah, it is almost like super middle. And yeah, again, like Guerrero, he doesn't really look like he's sculpted and made the weight by putting on mass. He just made it by not cutting, it seems. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No. And the guy that he fought, I think, you know, let's not get it twisted. It's not like he fought a legitimate 160 pounder or 168 pounder. He fought a guy, I think, who recently fought at 147. So, I mean, this is just a sham. Shout out to Shams 1000, but you know, this is one of those fights. Like, why are you dragging two guys who ideally fight at much lower weight classes and just have them drag up or have them move up weight classes to make it comfortable for them? Like, it's just a really bad representation of boxing, you know, and it's just very unprofessional. And I know me and even Chu, we sound like keyboard warriors right now, but it's just, you know, if you can't fight a legitimate fight and you don't feel like you're, you know, worthy to showcase a good performance, just retire, man. You know, like Chu said, I'm sure he has a substantial amount of money in his bank, is just fucking retire, man. I'm done with these fights, like him and Guerrero and even Margarito for that matter. I just don't want to see these guys fight anymore. It's really hard to justify the sport to casual fans when these guys are still fighting, man.
Yeah, boxing's like one of these sports where the guys are like thinking, "Oh, I'll get a second chance at it if I move up in weight." You know, you don't see fucking mountain climbers. You know, they try to climb Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in Scotland. It's like 2,000 feet or something. They fail. You know, they get halfway and it's like, "Oh fuck!" And then they're like, "You know what, man? Fuck it. I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro next." And you know what, man? And they're like, "Yes, I can do it if I can only just give myself a bigger challenge." You know, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You're fighting bigger guys.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm always a proponent of fighting at the lowest weight class you can possibly make. You know, when I hear that rhetoric of guys like Amir Khan moving up a weight class, like, I feel stronger at this weight class. It's like, no, please. It works very rarely, only for those guys who are that good. But when you move up a weight class, sure, you might feel a little bit better, and you might feel like it's that much easier to make weight. But I think it's more of a mental thing more than anything. Like Chu mentioned, sure, you may be more comfortable at that weight. However, you're also fighting guys who are substantially bigger and who aren't just 7 pounds bigger. You know, they're like 10, 15 pounds larger just because of the way they rehydrate. So if you can make a lower weight class, you always should, just because, you know, sure, you might feel a little bit healthier, but your opponent is substantially better as well.
And yeah, you lose a lot of those advantages you had as well.
And also, even a cardio thing, in my opinion. This isn't scientifically backed, but I do feel like when you're at your leanest weight possible, it does something to your cardio. Like, your body's so used to it. Whereas I think if you allow your body to fight at too comfortable of a weight and just kind of, eat different foods, and I think that there's an adjustment period that's involved as well. So, I just don't like it when fighters move up just because they say that it makes them feel healthier. I don't think that's a legitimate enough of a reason.
It's true what they say. Like, I've put on weight recently, unfortunately, and I feel like shit. I feel slow. I feel lethargic, and it's not just a physical thing. It's like looking in the mirror and I see it. I actually see my fucking belly. And it's like, I don't feel as confident. And I know it's Conor McGregor. I know he's an MMA fighter, but I feel as if it's an important point. He said that he misses his abs, because he moved up 2 weight classes. He misses his six-pack.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't feel as fast, as confident, as strong, because he's carrying all this extra weight. I feel as if it's somehow like, at the end of the day, people eat to reward themselves. It's like, oh man, I just went for a jog, now I'm going to eat something. It's like a little treat. And really, you should be doing the opposite. After a fucking jog, you shouldn't eat at all. Just fuck it. You've done all the hard work. Why go backwards? It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I've never understood why boxers go up in weight that much.
Anything else regarding El Perro?
No, I think we're good.
Quickly, I know Chu watched it. I missed it, but he had a few thoughts on the Terrell Gaisho fight, however you pronounce his name. Go ahead, Chu.
Yeah, Memoirs of a Geisha.
I thought Terrell looked slow and stiff, squared up a lot. He was one shot at a time, usually a telegraph jab. He was having some success with the jab. But you know what it's like? It's like that guy who goes to the karaoke and then he only sings one song and he thinks he's Freddie Mercury. He's only got that one punch. And you ever played Conkers, Dan? The game Conkers?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah, it's like 2 chestnuts. Watching that fight, Stephen Martinez, props to him, by the way, I'll talk about him in a second, but it's like a turn-based strategy game. It's like, you go, not you go, not you go, not your turn, you go. But in fairness to Stephen Martinez, he was a lot more fluid. I liked his body work. He was doing like a jab right hand, but the right hand wasn't a hard punch. It was like a distraction punch, and then he would go left hook to the body. It was just to bring Terrell's hands up, and then he would go downstairs with the left hook. He was doing that a lot. He was like throwing a lot of kind of decoy punches and shit. And I thought he was more fluid. He had more variety. He was more cerebral. His fucking punch selection. Whereas I thought Terrell just like he didn't want to be there. Like he was just going through the motions. Like, I'm a fucking Olympian. What the fuck are you doing in the same ring with me? Whereas Stephen Martinez looked hungry, and I thought he won the fight. Post-fight, but I give it to Martinez by about a round or so. But once again, the guy who's like the name, the up-and-coming guy gets the decision. Fucking, it's par for the course in boxing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and what's funny, too, and ironic, is that we've been talking about two guys in Guerrero and Angulo who have been consistently moving up weight classes. That's the opposite of Terrell Geisha. He first, I think, started his career at 168, and then he moved down to 160, and then now, obviously, this fight took place at 154. And I think it's just funny that, we have the exact opposite scenario. A guy who just consistently, I think, feels outclassed at his respective weight class, and, his only solution is to move down. And I just don't think it's a good sign, because the guy that he fought, Ramirez, I know he's fought, I think I saw him fight Chris Pearson, and he's not a very good, he's an average level fighter. Like you mentioned, Shu, he does some pretty nifty things, but I think if you're a decent level prospect, like Deshay was heralded as, you should have beaten him. But I don't know, this card is just utter shit. Jesus Christ, dude, like 3 awful fights, and it doesn't look like there's much else on this upcoming week's agenda. And like Cam mentioned regarding Spike, has Spike done a single good card with the PBC roster? I'm trying to think. I can't recall a good PBC on Spike card since its inception.
Neither can I. They are their kind of their crappy version that they use. They did not really put any high level fights on there. Only I think Stevenson's on the biggest now. I think it's Stevenson that's been on there, and that's usually a Friday.
Yeah, I kind of. I don't really know what you guys are trying to say. I was like, I've said previously in the past that I've been surprised at the competitiveness of the fights. Just because it's competitive doesn't actually mean it's exciting.
Right. Right.
This card wasn't exciting.
No.
I know it's like a dead horse and we beat on about it, but it just feels like the excitement is in other sports at the moment. It's like the momentum is with, fuck it, I'll say its name, MMA. And I just feel like we're a fucking tribute act to what we used to be. Fucking PBC is like lipstick on a pig. And it's you could have all the kind of guts and glamour and shit, but what's wrong with a good fight on paper? All these fights look like shit on paper, and then a lot of the time they turn out to be a good fight, but no one's watching because it's a shit fight on paper. Just fucking put two, like you were saying earlier, man. Just put 2 fucking contenders on the ring with each other. How hard is it to get a fucking Kovalev Ward fight? It is like fucking drawing blood from a stone, and the A-side, the supposed A-side Ward, will fucking make Kovalev do all this fucking shit. And thank fuck we've got the fight, and I salute both guys for that, but whether it's HBO, whether it's Showtime, whether it's PBC, it's so fucking hard to get 2 top 5 guys in the division to fight each other, and when it does happen, it's like, no offence to any religious person, it is like a pilgrimage. Boxing fans come from around the world to watch that fight. But that's because it's like a shooting star. It's so fucking rare.
Yeah. And one more thing, if I can utter, I honestly, I'm glad Leon isn't here, because if he was, he probably would have bashed my face in. But just to compare boxing again to MMA and UFC, like Drew mentioned, we had 2 fantastic fights in Thurman Porter and Frampton versus Santa Cruz, and those were fantastic fights. But again, what kills it for me is that boxing is so disparate. There's so many different organizations, and there's no unison, that when you have those fantastic fights, there's no ability to sustain an ongoing narrative of this fantastic fight. So what you built and what you did so well in having two top level guys fight each other, it just seems like that momentum gets completely lost. Whereas in a sport like UFC, that momentum is carried through. It's just constantly built, and you have an idea and you have a sense of what's going to happen with those two fighters. You know, like if you had a casual fan watch Santa Cruz versus Frampton, I'm sure they would have been fucking excited to see, like, you know, what are these guys going to do next? You know, who's their upcoming opponent? What are they going to do? Are they going to rematch? Or are they going to fight other top guys in the weight division? And it seems like now that fight was, about a month ago? And, like, we have no recollection of what's happening. And even to a greater extent, Thurman versus Porter. I mean, what the hell is going on with those two? You know, I mean, Thurman, did he sustain any kind of injury? Like, why isn't an opponent announced for him yet, man? Like, it just drives me crazy, dude. Like, he should be in camp right now fighting for his next opponent. But, I mean, obviously that's not the case.
It's ironic, you know, one of the fucking maxims of boxing is don't fucking enjoy your work. You know, what's the expression, Dan? Don't fucking enjoy your work. You know, if you land a shot, don't enjoy it. That's what boxers do all the time. They get one good win and then they sit the rest of the fucking year.
Yeah,
that's like the fucking, that's the trademark of boxing. You know, like, oh man, you've had a good win there. Just sit the rest of the year out, man. You just fucking sit on that fucking million. Yeah. They're like fucking ducks in winter sitting on an egg. It's disturbing.
Mm. Yeah, man. But Cam, are we done with this card? Because I mean, we obviously have a couple of good news that came over in the past week. So I'd love to talk about that and stop being a negative Nancy, if I could.
No, of course. I just want to say to Chew, it's nice to hear Lipstick on a Pig, man. It's been a few months.
I know, man.
You know, my trademarks are like Robert Guerrero. They get recycled.
And that recycle logo has 3 arrows as well, just to let you know. But just to transition to what Chew was saying about Kovalev Ward, Lim, you know, we were talking personally as well the last few weeks after the Ward Brand fight, and Duva coming out with a few interviews saying, you know, not looking good and stuff. So it was good to see this week that, you know, tickets got announced and the fight, you know, seems to be on.
Yeah, I'm so happy for that. And I just want to start with a question for you two. What was a fight that's been announced recently that's better than Kovalev Ward?
That's better.
Yeah, or just as good.
Nothing.
I'm talking about even in the past 2, 3, 4 years.
Maybe Canelo Cotto, but
nah, nope, no way. For me, this is a better fight than Mayweather Pacquiao when that got announced.
Absolutely.
I'm ecstatic about this fight. Like, I'm really fucking ecstatic. And I know I shit on the sport a lot, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't like it, you know, that I'm so negative about the sport a lot of times, but this is the shit that I want to see, man. I'm fucking pumped for this fight. 2 top 5 pound-for-pound level guys. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. And I know we love to shit on Andre Ward, but how many guys in this day and age in boxing with all these prima donnas, you know, I don't care if Ward left 168 because he couldn't make that weight anymore. Regardless, how many guys do you see move up a weight class and fight the baddest motherfucker in that weight division, you know, within a year? How many guys do that? You know, and you could talk about him holding, him being boring, whatever, man. This guy's fighting the best guy at 175 after 2 fights, excuse me. And you got to give him props, man. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Ward is a shit. I love this shit. But I can't wait for the fight, man. I know I've talked to Cam and Chu. You know, we're really trying hard to get, you know, Chu over to Vegas and Cam over to Vegas. And, you know, this is the type of fight that people should try to make it out to. Honestly, again, this is a fucking fantastic fight. These are 2 guys in their primes, or maybe at the tail end of their primes, but still 2 top-level guys at a single weight division to really tell the world who the best is at 175. It doesn't get better than this. And even the fight might be boring, but like Chu alluded to, like when a fight is this good on paper, it just gets me pumped. And I can't wait to see how this fight is going to break down, because it's just going to be such a tense fight for the first 4 or 5 rounds, just because I know Ward is going to show Kovalev so much respect. And I know Kovalev is going to have a pretty difficult time, I think, in the beginning rounds trying to figure out Andre Ward.
Absolutely. And you know what? I was thinking about this fight the other day. This is like De La Hoya, Trinidad, or James Toney, Roy Jones, that kind of fight. That kind of, where it transcends boxing. I heard Joe Rogan talk on his podcast for about 10 minutes about this fight, along with that Brendan Schaub guy. It's like one of these fights where MMA guys want to watch it. Fucking baseball, football fans want to see it because they've heard rumours about this Kovalev guy, this fucking beast, Kova, this fucking beast. And Andre Ward, like you said, that respect him. I might not enjoy the political side of the things he does, in terms of all the hoops that he makes his opponents jump through before they can actually fight him.
Yeah.
That said, he is one of the he unlike very few guys with that kind of boxing capital fights the best. He's proved it. Super Six, Chad Dawson, the list goes on. He's not afraid to fight the best. And I actually read a boxing article. I think it was by some fucking documentary maker guy who also writes. And it was telling his life story about how his dad was like a junkie and his mother was a crackhead, and how he does like a lot of stuff for his local boxing community and stuff, and how he's never forgot his roots and stuff like that. And it just kind of showed Andre Ward in a more humane way, while also kind of giving a glimpse of how his mind works, why he makes his opponents do all the kind of things that they need to do to get the fight with him. I kind of understood him after that article, and it was actually a great article. I can't remember it. I'm sure someone in the chat can fucking post it. I respect him more for that, and that said, I think Kova beats him. I know that was a kind of shit segue, but I actually think Andre Ward's a little bit past his prime. I think that layoff has hurt him. I was watching Andre Ward fights the other day, against Brand, even against that the other guy he fought before. He slowed down a bit.
Sullivan Barrera,
yeah, he slowed down a bit, and the arm that he had the operation on, I don't really see the venom on the shots. Not like it was before, but he had a little bit of pop before, but he's very one-armed now. And I think if you're going to beat Kovalev, you're going to need both arms.
Yep, I agree to that. I'm looking forward to it. Like Dan said, and I know Hamad is in the Mixler chat, and he's saying he thinks it's probably be a shit fight, but it doesn't matter if I can get to Vegas and the stars align, and I don't care if it's a shit fight, because like all your friends are going to come out to it, and it's more of like a gathering of fellow boxing fans and the general boxing community that so that's what I look forward to more, because I knew Canelo wasn't going to be that competitive, but I knew that people I knew were going, so it was more about the whole adventure more than anything.
Can I ask both of you guys a question? Do you not think this is like the Rocky V of fights? This is like the first big 50-50 fight since Floyd and Manny. This to me, this fight is like make or break for boxing. I know that sounds overly dramatic, and boxing will always be there, and it will be in one form or another, but this fight is to me like an opportunity for boxing to show the fucking world it's either here to stay and it's back and bigger than ever, or if it's another fucking letdown, like another big fight that's a fucking letdown, I mean that may just fucking kill me personally. And I'm a boxing fan, I love that shit, but if this fight is another shit fight, like another big fight that's shit, I might just go, you know what, man, fuck this.
I think because Ward's involved, and like you said about his shoulder, I think because of that he's going to make it a certain type of fight. It'll be like jab and hold, or hook off the jab and hold. That's the only opportunity that Ward can, do. So it's the only thing Ward can do to kind of maybe win it. I don't think he's going to win it in a straight boxing match otherwise, because I think Kovalev, even though Kova is basic at times and he does the same thing over and over again, I think Ward, without that right hand, turning southpaw against Kovalev, I don't think that's going to work. I just think because of that reason, I think it will be a big fight that's a letdown. unfortunately.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I mean, you've had a lot of good fights in recent years, but it's never, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, it's never the fight that you expect that turns out to be fight of the year, with the exception of maybe Foreman Porter. People were expecting that to be a banger, and it was. As Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz was, but that fucking fight that's like the Super Bowl of boxing, and usually it kind of lets you down. I hope they pack the card. I hope they see the opportunity for what it is. It's like it's a big tent, this fight, and I hope both sides, give the fans what they want to see, and that's like a packed card and make a fucking event out of it.
The issue is it's Rock Nation who, through the history that they've done so far, are pretty terrible when it comes to boxing, and it's main events who don't really have a big stable. So again, unfortunately, I don't know. The undercard's going to be shit.
I disagree, Cam.
Oh, go on.
I disagree. I think Dusty Hernandez is a fantastic prospect at 147. What are you laughing at?
Dusty with his tattooed name across his chest.
Yeah, I think Dusty's a very good fighter. I know he recently sparred Canelo for his fight against Khan, so I think he's really gained invaluable experience from that sparring session. And I see the sky's the limit for Dusty, so hopefully we can get Dusty versus, a top, 147 fighter like Andre Berto, and that would be a fantastic fight.
People shit in Rock Nation, but since Cotto signed with Rock Nation, you've got the big fight with Canelo, and since Ward signed with Rock Nation, you're getting the big fight with Kovalev. So, I can't really shit on them too much. So at least they're pushing their fighters towards the big fights.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And also, I think we also do have to mention the fact that their contracts that they gave out to Cotto, at least Cotto, from what I can recall, was absolutely just terrible. A 3-fight deal for $55 million total. I mean, Jesus Christ, good luck getting that money back.
Exactly.
But,
that's like fucking lighting a cigar with £100 note. It's really extortionate, but it's their money. If they want to fucking do it, then fair play.
Yeah. I think their VP of operations, or I think just the VP in general in their sports department, actually was let go. So I think it goes to show you. I have a strong feeling that after the contracts of all of their fighters run out, I'm pretty sure that they're just going to end their boxing entity altogether. That's what I would do, because they have nothing going for them. And I was completely trolling about Dusty Hernandez, but I think he is their third best prospect outside of Ward and Cotto. So it just goes to show you how dire their boxing situation is over there.
Now don't forget about Rigo.
Don't forget about Rigo. Shit numbers. Oh, they got Rigo?
Yeah.
Well, I guess from a financial perspective, though, it's I'd rather have Dusty Hernandez over Rigo, because Rigo isn't going to do shit for you. But I think just going to the fight, I think this fight is going to do terrible numbers, pay-per-view wise. I think it's going to do probably 100 to like 125,000 pay-per-view buys. But again, I don't care, because this is such a great fight. Like, this is the fight that only hardcores are going to care about, but it's going to be the fight that hardcores are going to salivate over. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see two top guys just go at it.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think about HBO's schedule? Do you think they're trying to get out of boxing? Do you think it's just like a kind of...
I do. I think they're... I don't think... Well, actually, I don't know. I can't say for certain that they're going to get out of it entirely, but I think their focus moving forward is to only showcase, 6 to 8 huge fights, and I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 pay-per-views or in a given year. I think they're probably just going to focus on guys like Golovkin and Canelo and whoever else can generate huge numbers, because I don't think they really give a shit about the sport anymore. And I think that's pretty obvious by what they've been doing in this calendar year, And and I'm sorry, one more point. They also have they have a couple of new shows that are coming out. I think there's one called Deadlock that I just saw yesterday, and it looks fucking amazing. And I can't imagine the amount of money that they put into that show. And it just makes you wonder, how much money do they really have left over for boxing when they're putting in that much money for huge shows like Deadlock and Game of Thrones and things of that nature.
Things have changed in like HBO, the days when people subscribe and stuff, the internet's kind of changed everything, Netflix and stuff. People don't subscribe anymore. And like, at least with television shows and stuff, people can buy the box set, or they can make their money that way. How do they make money off boxing after the fact? They don't. They don't really, and they don't really get any kind of Emmys or any kind of sporting equivalent for a good boxing fight. They get, when you think about it, they get fuck all. But in a way, it's kind of naive, all the boxing fans really kind of giving them shit for really downsizing. I see the point of view where it's like HBO is like a rich businessman who's been with his loyal wife boxing, because boxing made HBO. Boxing made HBO everything that it is. But now that fucking boxing's old and fucking not as pretty as it used to be, they've just kind of kicked it to the curb and got like a younger girl who's gonna, who's fucking pretty in the eye and probably fucking does things that boxing used to do but can't anymore.
Yeah.
It's really like, it's just human nature, fucking, what have you done for me lately?
Boxing is that girl. Boxing is that girl that became a crack whore, who has marks all over her body, who constantly abuses herself, and HBO is like, I don't want to deal with that shit anymore. I want to get with this 24-year-old dime piece, who's willing to massage my back and go down every now and then. I don't want to deal with boxing anymore. You're done. I'm done with you, baby. Jesus Christ. You're not going to even give me a little quickie? All right, you're out.
Exactly.
Shit.
Yeah. It's a shame, man. Yeah. And it's just, I find where boxing is right now so interesting, because there's a lot of rumors that ESPN is going to sign a contract with the UFC as well. And that's going to be fascinating to see, because I know ESPN is going to stop showing boxing, I think, after this year. This is the last year of Friday Night Fights, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just going to be really fascinating to see what boxing is going to do with their kind of leftover TV networks.
The Friday Night Fights finished last year, but they have picked up the odd PBC card here and there. But
Right. Yeah. I think PBC has, 4 to 6 cards left with ESPN, and then I think Heyman has a couple of options afterwards, but I don't know, man. Those ratings have been terrible, so...
Lim, not to make it a UFC show, though, but where is UFC shown in the States at the moment?
Just Fox.
So would it be Fox, like a co-promotion between the channels, or would ESPN take it over fully?
No, it would be... we don't know as of now, because Fox's connection or Fox's contract with UFC is actually going to end this year as well. So it's going to be open in the air, but I'm pretty damn sure that they're going to re-sign. And one thing that people need to understand in terms of the difference between how the UFC operates with Fox and PBC's contracts with these other television networks, Fox actually pays the UFC. They pay them about $110 million per year for their connection with the UFC. Wow. And there's been a lot of rumors recently that new contract is going to be somewhere in the $300 to $400 million ballpark per year for the UFC. And that's why the UFC was bought for some odd billion dollars from WME IMG. So it just goes to show you the difference, I think, in terms of promotional value of just the two sports right now.
Yeah. The best thing that boxing can do, in my opinion, is, this is like a night of shite analogies, but I'll make another one. Boxing is almost like a bankrupt company. It's got all this bad debt. It's got all these boxers thinking they're superstars and they won't fight each other because they don't want to lose their prestige. The best thing that boxing can do, in my opinion, is to downsize. Maybe the best thing that boxing could do is not be on fucking network TV, not have, HBO and all that shit kind of amusing themselves with it. Just cut your ties and shit. The funny thing is once boxing kind of goes out the limelight a bit, I think, then you'll start to see the fighters fight each other because they won't have any fucking alternative. And I do think boxing will come back, but I do think that the next couple of years are going to be rough. They're going to be rough in terms of how can a boxing fan watch a fight if you can't watch it live, that kind of thing. And like I say, for a company to grow again, you need to declare bankruptcy, get rid of all that fucking bad debt, declare insolvency, and then you can start to grow again. You need to get growth back into the fucking business, and in the minute boxing's just not a good business model. You're giving guys millions for fighting, quite frankly, cab drivers, bums, and
Uber drivers.
that is Uber drivers, and quite frankly, that is you're not doing the customer any favours by putting that on a fucking pedestal and then saying it's fucking gravy.
Yeah.
You know, the boxing fan's not stupid. You know, if you've came this far as a boxing fan after all this fucking years of shit,
yeah,
then you know what you're looking at. And like I say, the best thing that boxing can do is eat its medicine. You know, fucking, it might taste shit, but it'll be good for you in the long run. So I'm optimistic, but I do think the next couple of years are going to be rough as fuck.
Well, Chu Lin, we were talking earlier about November 19th with Kovalev and Ward. November 5th we got Pacquiao versus Vargas, and Bob Arum was complaining, saying, HBO kind of sucked Pacquiao dry, and now they kind of threw him on a trash heap by not picking up the Vargas fight. But I don't blame him, to be honest, because it's a shit fight. No one wants it, and even though financially I don't think Kovalev versus Ward's gonna, like Lim alluded to, is gonna make big financial sense, it's a fight more people want to see. It's a fight of two guys in the top three in their weight division. Ward did everything at 168. Kovalev's a beast. It's what we want. We don't want to see Vargas versus Pacquiao. The only Pacquiao fight we wanted was Crawford. So, in a way, I'm glad that HBO's standing up a bit, but as you two have spoken about in the last few minutes, I do think HBO seem to be taking their foot out of boxing.
Yeah, Dan, do you want to go on that, or I've got something to say? Alright, I'll say it. Like Manny Pacquiao is like Robert De Niro at this point. Robert De Niro used to be a great actor. You remember him from Taxi Driver. Shit, another Taxi reference, but you remember him for you remember him for Taxi Driver. You remember him from the fucking Godfather of Part 2. You remember him from all these classics. Now Robert De Niro is just phoning it in for the money. But people still respect him, fucking people see him in the street and it's like, oh, it's Robert De Niro. But Manny Pacquiao is he's probably still a great boxer. He had a kind of close fight with Floyd, but no one's really interested in watching him fight anymore. In the same way that they were, don't get me wrong. In a way, it's like I say, it's like a testimonial. You know how football players get testimonials after a long career. This is like a testimonial. I think Vargas, in the prime of his career, never beat Manny at all. Manny will outpoint him. If you already know what the outcome of a fight is going to be before you watch it, you're probably not going to watch it. So I don't disagree with HBO not picking up the fight. But again, it's back to that analogy of, fucking HBO was with Manny when Manny was a dime piece. Now that fucking Manny's old and's got wrinkles, he gets kicked to the curb. HBO's going to pick up that young looking thing with the tits. It's just human nature, and it's really fucking. Manny was talking about retiring for so long. Like, I'm definitely going to retire, even after the Floyd fight, but he's still going. Even Bob Arum was saying, he's going to retire after this fight, but Bob's managed to claw his way back into Manny's life and get him another fight. It's just, he obviously has some kind of financial problems, I think. I really don't want to see Manny get hurt. I don't want to see him hurt his legacy. And to be honest, he's probably hurting boxing at this point the longer he stays in the game, because he's not letting young stars evolve and take his place. If you're going to fight on Manny, fight a guy who can take your mantle and run with it. Don't fight Vargas, because you're only fighting Vargas because you know you'll win. Like it's been said before, fight a guy like Terence Crawford, so that you can pass the baton on to Terence Crawford, win or lose. You might beat Terence, but Terence might become a star in the making because he's got all these extra eyes on him because he's fighting Manny. You know, just like Oscar done with you, Manny. Oscar didn't have to fight Manny, but Oscar done it, I believe, for the good of boxing. You know, it's time to give back, Manny. You say you're a Christian, you're a charitable cunt. Well, it's time to give back, man. It's time to give back and stop taking fucking bum fights. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not disgusting. It's disappointing.
Yeah, Manny's record last couple of years, man. Like, we didn't need that third Bradley fight. The Algieri fight was weak. Floyd Mayweather fight happened years too late. Rios, I don't know. Last couple of years, been disappointing. But yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about Ricky Burns, too.
Oh, my boy.
Your boy. I looked at his opponent's record. You had some good puns about his name as well, but Kirill Relic. Watched a tiny bit of him on YouTube. He's not a bum. He's undefeated.
Nah, he's not a bum.
Undefeated, 21 wins, 19 knockouts. I think he's part of Ricky Hatton's promotional team, but I added up the combined records of his opponents. We had 194 wins, 192 losses, and 19 draws for all of his opponents. Two had high losing records. One had 65 at the time losses, and one had 37 losses at the time. But yeah, he's not a bum. I think he's mandatory. It's Ricky's first defence in Glasgow, so it's an okay fight. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Zlatan Cannon fight. I was shitting on Zlatan Cannon before Ricky fought him. But when I look back, Zlatan Cannon actually had some good names on his resume. I think he fought that ESPN Boxeo winner, Petrov.
Peter Petrov.
I didn't see that fight, and it was kind of naive towards Zlatan Cannon before he fought Ricky. This is like another one of these fights where Ricky fights to the level of his opponents. If you'll have a kind of semi-competitive fight against Terence Crawford, and on the flip side, he'll fight a fucking, a mid-level guy, and you'll have a competitive fight against him as well. In fairness to Ricky Burns, everyone was writing him off, saying he was shot prior to his last fight, which he won the title again. And never write Ricky Burns off. He's back. Alright, it's a kind of no-name guy he's fighting, but you never fucking know. This guy might turn out to be a beast. The guys he's fought are shit. And I don't really know how. Is it for the title, Cam? I don't know. Is it? It's probably for the title, right?
Yep.
I don't know who this Relic guy is beat to deserve a shot at that. That's a story in itself. That said, the guy might turn out to be a beast. Clearly he can punch regardless of the opposition that he's fought. So you never know. It's not to me it's like the worst kind of fight that Ricky could have, because he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Everyone's expecting him to beat this guy. But what will probably happen is it'll probably be a fucking nip and tuck affair.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be another close fight for Ricky. But if he gets through this, apparently he's going to fight Adrian Broner.
Yeah,
the worst kind of.
I was going to get into that too, because I saw a few articles stating that, and I don't know, Ricky seems a bit naive of him, already looking past this fight. No, looking past this fight, already talking about Broner.
Yeah.
It all depends, though. It depends on how he's asked the question, because you know what the media are like. They kind of just pick up on the more interesting parts of an interview. But I just think that maybe he shouldn't look too past this dude first before he starts talking
Absolutely.
about a $1 million fight with Adrian Broner in Vegas or something. Because I don't even think Broner can make 140 anymore. So.
Absolutely, and it's a very Scottish mentality to look past somebody to get to, and take your eye off the prize. For whatever reason, Scottish people don't operate as well when they're a favourite. They operate better as an underdog. We go back to a football analogy, back in 1974, Scotland were one of the favourites for the Football World Cup. And they never even got past the group stages. You know, it's that kind of, and that's, was it 1974 or 1978? I can't remember, but that's the kind of Scottish mentality, you know, like, when we feel good about ourselves, we think we can we're better than everyone. And then inevitably we fall at the first hurdle. I really feel that, in terms of that mentality, no one epitomises that better than Ricky Burns. And that's why I fucking personally love him more than Scott Harrison or anyone else. Because everything that Ricky Burns has ever got in his life, it's came through fucking hard work. You talk about Angulo maximising his talent. No one's maximised their talent more than Ricky Burns, and everyone's got to respect that. I don't give a fuck who you are.
And he had that weekend job in the trainer store. So
exactly. And I fucking left my shoe metaphors at home. So I don't have one at the moment, but that's the thing. You can work. He's another guy who, you know, he's a blue collar guy who he's like Walkie working in the butcher store. You know, he got his shot, he took it.
Yep.
And you've got to love that about boxers in general. There is no other game in the world where you can go from rags to riches with 30 minutes. You know, 12 rounds, 12 3-minute rounds. You know, your life can transform. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work prior to that fucking 30 minutes, but, you know, you can literally go from, as Mike Tyson says, the bottom of the ocean to the top of the mountain in fucking half an hour. That's why I love the game.
Yeah.
I love Ricky Burns. But anyway, what the fuck were we talking about?
Yeah, I think we kind of discussed it all regarding Burns. Just quickly sticking with Scottish boxing. Edinburgh, October 21st, you got Josh Taylor versus Dave Ryan. I know my boy Davey Boy Essex is a big fan of Dave Ryan. He's back now, I think, after that injury he had against, I think Hibbett. I think he was in the third fight in Leeds, I think it was. No, he was in London. But yeah, that's actually a good fight. It's a tough fight for Josh Taylor, Chew. I think it's his 7th professional fight, fighting a guy of Dave Ryan's experience. That's... They're stepping him up quite quick, the McGuigans. Yeah,
I know, obviously being Scottish, I know a wee bit about Josh Taylor. You know, had a good Commonwealth Games and shit. And, you know, I'm not from the Edinburgh area, but, you know, I've kind of lived here and worked here for a while, and you'll be surprised how many casuals and, like, non-boxing fans know who this guy is. You know, I've had people who know I'm a boxing fan, and they come up to me and say, "Oh, do you know who this Josh Taylor guy is?" and shit. It's like, he's got a kind of little following going already. There's a little bit of buzz round about him, and, you know, he's another guy who's ready to take off. And knowing having watched him fight a couple of times, like not fully, but, you know, I've seen the YouTube and shit, and I know he's a good fighter. I don't know much about this Dave Ryan. I've got to be honest. I'm putting my casual face on at the minute. Obviously, if he's been trained by the McGuigans, they don't take any mugs. So. To be honest with you, I'll fucking deviate to you, and you can tell me how good this Dave Ryan guy is. I know how good that Josh Taylor guy is. He's a wee beast. And but if he's taking this guy on at his 7th professional fight, I think you might be picking off a wee bit more than you can chew. And I hope not.
No, Ryan is good, man. He's one of those, like, you know, like, kind of domestic British level guys. He had a few losses on his way coming up, but then he beat Darren Hamilton. I think he got disqualified. Hamilton got disqualified for headbutts. Then he had a rematch. Hamilton beat him. He lost to Adil Anwar at 140. He lost to Curtis Woodhouse. He beat Hibbert. He lost to Eggington. He beat McCloskey. Beat Tyrone Nurse. Beat Hibbert in I think that was the second fight. That was a really good fight on the undercard last year in May on the Joshua undercard.
Yeah, you know what? When I seen the fight was at the Meadowbank Arena, I kind of got flashbacks. You know why? Because the very first boxing fight I ever seen was at the Meadowbank Arena in Edinburgh, and it was still the best fight I've ever seen to this day. Alex Affer against Michael Gomez. And Michael Gomez, if you don't know who he is, he's like he's kind of like the Emmanuel Augustus of British boxing. You know, he's like a kind of cult favourite. You know, he beat some big names who he wasn't expected to win against, and then he lose against a bum. You know, he's that kind of dangerous guy, and from the sound of his record, this Dave Ryan, he's kind of similar, and just being in that arena again, it's just, you know, Alex Arthur, when he fought Michael Gomez, he took that fight too soon in his career, and he never recovered. He never recovered for that loss, and I just hope that fucking Josh Taylor is not making the same mistake that another fucking Edinburgh-based fighter is making.
Either way, I think it's going to be a good fight. When I've seen Taylor fight, you know, he does mix up punches. He does concentrate on body shots. He's got a really good left to body, so I'm looking forward to Chew. You need to go to this fight, man. It's in Edinburgh, man. We need to go.
You know, that arena is a fucking gymnasium. Honestly, I've been there loads of times. Not even for boxing, for like fucking just fucking jiu-jitsu and stuff. And that is like a glorified gymnasium. Honestly, but it's a good arena, and if it's at that fucking if it's in that place, I will definitely go. When is it?
Let me just check again. It's on 21st of October.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I thought I'd be trying to save a flight to Vegas, but I could probably spare a 20 quid somewhere.
No, don't do it.
Fuck
Save
it, you.
every last quid for Vegas.
That's one last drink in that Las Vegas nightclub.
My man, why not?
Why not?
Why not, indeed?
All right, I'm exhausted for topics, so unless you guys got anything you want to talk about.
Chew, anything?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Amir Khan going into MMA.
Chew, Cam, what do you think about that?
I was talking to Leon, and you know, Leon uses the term that a person is dead to him quite often. And Khan is a bit dead to me, man. Like, I've supported him for years, but some of the comments he comes out with,
or all the way.
I'd have to say all the way, man. Some of the comments he makes is just ridiculous. This whole MMA bullshit. He said he's out till the rest of the year now. He'll probably fight in January. I don't know. I've said to you many a time, Lim, I could always defend him before because he always fought the good fights, always fought tough opposition. But last couple of years, his resume has been fucking terrible.
But is he trolling though with these MMA comments?
He must be.
I think he's serious.
He must be that he has no. You know, he can barely box. What's he gonna do at MMA? You can't just go into your first. You can't go into MMA in your first fight and fight. You know, Conor McGregor.
Yeah. No, but I find it interesting because, you know, obviously as a lone American on the panel right now, I really cannot tell when UK guys are trolling or not just because of their accents. Like, I have no idea because Cam always tells me that he thinks Khan is somewhat of an idiot, and I really have no idea. Like, I just cannot gauge him properly because of his accent and just because of his cultural background. But I don't know. Because if he is somewhat serious about this, then yes, he is a complete fucking moron. But I just feel like he is trolling the media right now, and he's just trying to get attention, which he's, you know, successfully doing. So.
You know, like when I look at Amir Khan's boxing style, I actually think he'd be pretty good in MMA because he's quite tall. You know, he fights tall. He doesn't put like a lot of pressure on his front leg. Like, you know, I've heard George Groves said that he wants to go into MMA as well, and he's actually training jiu-jitsu. But when I see George Groves fight, he kind of crouches down and he puts like all his weight on his front leg, and I just think, you know, you'll get leg kicked to death. Whereas I actually think that Amir Khan has got a kind of boxing style that would be pretty fucking good for MMA. You know, he punches straight. He's like his elbows next to his chest, and it's like, you know, he doesn't generate much power, but with those small gloves, he'll fuck a guy up.
No, but likewise though, those small gloves will fuck him up. He'd been getting knocked out.
Yeah, I know that's the thing,
bro.
But
you're true. He would get murked. He would get fucking murked.
I would pay to see it.
I mean, me too. But all right, let me ask you this: what about his takedown defense? What the hell is he gonna do when someone tries to take him down with those skinny ass, you know, toothpick legs of his?
I'm not trolling when I say this. I think he's with the right boxing trainer to kind of like slowly evolve into that kind of grappling style. Because Virgil Hunter has like incorporated some kind of grappling in recent years to Amir Khan's game. You know, he's, you know, like some boxers, like they're grappling, like they're actually grappling. You know, like head control, like you watch Robert Guerrero fight at the weekend. You know, he's a dirty motherfucker, Robert Guerrero. By the way, he's got the one hand behind the opponent's back and he's hitting the other guy with the other hand. You know, and I mean, like that's like a kind of thing with that gym. I think, you know, Andre Ward's all about that head control as well, and it's a very kind of Muay Thai kind of thing, and it's like they're very good at just dictating space and controlling. I'm not saying he's going to be good on the ground or whatever, because, you know, that takes years, and if anyone takes Amir Khan down, he'll be annihilated. But I definitely think that he's got the footwork and he's got the jab to beat the kind of lower level bums of MMA. You know, if like a guy like CM Punk can get any fucking MMA, why can't Amir Khan? And if he does it right, and he fights the right fights and kind of slowly evolves into it rather than getting chucked in there against a beast, and you never know. I'm not as skeptical about it as I would be with some other boxers going into MMA. I just think he's got a kind of a boxing style that would translate quite well.
Anything else, fellas?
I'm just looking through boxing scene right now. I'm sorry, I just saw a beautiful woman pass by, so I didn't catch the last 30 seconds of what you just said. But
what about Canelo and Smith not having the drug testing? Do you give a fuck?
It's just I would assume it's for financial reasons, no?
Well, I mean,
why was Smith? I mean, Smith obviously denied testing as well. I mean, from his vantage point, you would think that if he really had a legitimate concern, he would have made a bigger deal about it. But from what I can recall, VADA is quite expensive.
To me, like, if you're going to fight at 154, which I understand this fight is going to be at 154 for fucking Liam Smith's belt, you know, it's not going to be at the 155 catch weight. That's what I've heard. I might be wrong there, but this is actually going to be a 154 fight.
Yeah,
I would be very suspicious of how Canelo could make that. You know, I would question whether diuretics are going to come into play or whatnot. And, you know, not just MMA, all other sports, Olympics, all other professional sports at the moment, people are getting caught left, right and centre, and really the odd man out at the minute is boxing. And if you're not going to VADA, and you're not going to USADA, and you're making a weight class you've not made in years, you know, like, to me the alarm bells are going off.
What about carne asada?
What's that?
Oh, it's a type of Mexican beef.
The one with the steroids?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. With these kind of situations, I just find it more entertaining. All of the boxing fans who are so confident that it's one way or the other. You know, they're so adamant and they're so confident that he's doing it just to use diuretics to not get caught. It's like, look, we don't know either way what the fuck is going on. We have no idea why they dropped testing. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Until there is a universal form of drug testing in the sport, it really doesn't fucking matter. You know, I don't even care if they use VADA for the top 15 for WBC. It's just stupid. It's stupid that they have a cutoff for certainly ranked fighters. It kills the whole point of it, in my opinion. You know, if you're going to do that for the top 15 fighters, and what are you saying about the other guys? And you know, once they get to that level, they can stop using steroids. It's like, what the fuck, man? Come on, just get your shit together. Like you mentioned, Chu, you know, in other sports, there's just more stringent drug testing. And until we get that in boxing, like, I don't really care about these half-ass measures because they don't really prove anything, in my opinion.
Lim, question for you. Shams 1000 asking for our thoughts on Willie Monroe versus Rosado on undercard. But my main concern is I read today that possibly the winner may get Canelo next.
Huh. Yeah, I've read that too. I heard about that, and I mean, Jesus Christ, if that takes place, then I don't even know what to say, because I think I'm going to go to the Canelo fight. Canelo's just my boy, and I've always wanted to go to Texas, so I might go to the fight. But yeah, that's laughable. But the thing is, Billy Joe Saunders isn't doing any of us a favor either, right? It's like, what has happened to Billy Joe Saunders?
Billy Joe Saunders just gets a kick out of turning people down.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, if it's not him, I don't know, man. Like, and this is what kills me. Obviously, none of us want to watch Canelo fight the winner of that fight. You know, we just shat on Guerrero and Angulo, and Rosado is like the kingpin of that gatekeeper, fatherhood. You know, he gave birth to guys like Guerrero and all of these other gatekeepers. You know, he's the Don gatekeeper. So if he fights Canelo, I mean, I don't want to see that shit. And Willie Monroe, I mean, Jesus, this guy, did he lose to Brian Vera, or did he beat him?
Nah, he schooled Vera.
I don't know. Oh, he did? Okay. Well, props to him, but I saw Willie Monroe's last fight against that average level guy, and he didn't look that good, and I don't even know, to tell you the truth, man. Like, 160 is it's in such a weird place right now. I mean, you got fucking Triple G fighting Kell Brook, and like, all of these guys are pricing themselves out, and I don't know, Cam. What do you think? I mean, do you feel like that's going to happen? And if it does happen, I mean, what are some of the alternative options for Canelo, just considering how much of a mess this weight division is?
Regarding Rosado, Willie Monroe, I actually think Willie Monroe would beat him quite easy. He's a decent boxer up to a certain stage. He won't take it to the echelons of his weight division, but he's quite fun to watch. He's quite slick on the back foot. I think he beats Rosado. But yeah, the Brandon Adams fight that you're referring to wasn't a great fight. But regarding the winner, if he does beat Rosado, I don't really want to see. I just talked to you about Khan's resume kind of being really good and then falling off a bit. And if he does start fighting people like Monroe or Rosado or other guys of that level, then the same must be said about Canelo. His resume is really getting pretty weak.
Absolutely. Boxing's like snakes and ladders. Willie Monroe had a good showing against Golovkin, and then you've not seen him since. One loss, and he's like right down to the fucking start of the board again. He's had to claw his way up to get a fight against Gabe Rosado. Christ, I feel for him, because that is not a deep division, and probably talent-wise, in my opinion, probably one of the top 5 pound for pound. There's few better. Which in a way shows you how shit the division is, but that's not his fault. And that's for Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, like a guy has a good win and then he takes 18 months off or 12 months off. Such a momentum buzz killer. And but regardless of what I think about him personally, I think if Billy Joe Saunders was to ever fight Canelo, I personally think Billy Joe Saunders would probably beat Canelo. What do you guys think?
I think we had this conversation a few months ago, and I think Billy Joe style, I think, would be very difficult for Canelo. I think, especially if it's a big ring, Canelo still, he has improved with his cutting off the ring, but he still has issues with it. Yeah,
I think he would win a close decision. I think Billy Joe would be a much easier target to find than Lara, and Canelo was doing decent. Obviously not good, or obviously not great, but he was still doing a decent job in the latter portions of that fight. So I think he would win a very close decision against Billy Joe Saunders.
And just one last point, because I know we're about to wrap up, because
there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't even need a final thought, I don't think.
No.
But I don't know if you guys talked about it last week. Badou Jack and James DeGill. It's been signed. It's been finalised. You talked about that last week?
That's number 1 versus number 2 at 168, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Just think about that. Let that sink in for a second.
Such little fanfare.
Has it been signed? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's been signed, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think they signed it at a McDonald's or something. Their manager, their promotional companies couldn't be bothered. They had better things to do.
On the back of a napkin.
Exactly, with crayons and shit. You know.
Yeah, regardless of how much publicity it's got, it's, when number 1 and number 2 fight against each other, that's what you want. I'm being awfully negative, but maybe the penny's starting to drop. You've had Postal, Crawford, you've had Santa Cruz, Frampton, you've had Porter, Furman, you're getting Ward, Kovalev, now you're getting Badu, Jack, the Gale. But again, it's like, for guys who are meant to be 1 and 2, there's such little publicity around it and such no steam behind it. And to me, it's not a coincidence that it's a PBC fight.
Yeah, but to be fair, that might be the worst division in boxing right now.
No, I second that. It's one of them.
I mean, and that's what makes it so much harder for me to criticize Triple G is that I implore him to take on challenges, and one of the easiest ways to take on a challenge is just to move up a weight class. But that weight division might be worse than 160, like in terms of the actual opponents, head to head, which is pretty awful. I don't know.
Dan, you've not been able to watch Sky Sports News over here and the sports channels over here. They're really fucking drumming up this Kelbrook Triple G fight. You're seeing training montages of Kelbrook every day, and they're using the Rocky 4 music, and when Rocky's training in the snow and shit.
Yeah.
Like the kind of 80s electro techno, and do 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 do. He's running on curved treadmills and shit, and getting the best sports scientists and all this kind of jazz. And still not doing anything for me. I still think Golovkin's going to win, but
I hope Golovkin doesn't mess about as well. I hope he just fucking goes in there and ices him straight away. I don't want to see him messing him about and playing with his food for 4 rounds.
He is. I know he is. He said in an interview that he foresees this fight going 8 to 10 rounds.
Who said that? Triple G?
Yeah, Golovkin.
Oh, God's sake.
Yeah. And then just one more thing. I cannot stand Triple G's team. I think Abel Sanchez a couple of days ago said that they would be open to an Andre Ward fight at 168. After all that's been said and done, now that they're okay with Ward at 168. So I
totally agree, and I'm gonna go back. Go for it. Go for it.
No. That's it. I just can't stand that motherfucker. I can't stand the t-shirts that he wears. The fact that he tucks in that t-shirt over his big ass belly of his and the shitty ass jeans, and that fucking stupid ass belt that he wears. Fuck Abel Sanchez. Fuck that guy. You open your mouth, and you're the only reason why people can shit on Triple G the way that they do. Is because you make stupid, outlandish comments that are completely absurd and just makes your guy look like a fucking moron when he isn't, obviously. I've said it so many damn times. I think Triple G is a fantastic fighter. I think he's pound for pound, talent-wise. I think he's that good. I give him a lot of credit for the Lemieux fight, unlike others. I think the way that he dismantled David Lemieux was really, really impressive. But his team they keep saying stupid shit, and it's just making me hard to root for the guy sometimes, man. Just because there's really nothing in his future that gets me excited. Part of that is him being that good. Part of it is obviously people ducking him. And one more thing too, I know this is a big topic right now where we're constantly bringing up, Danny Jacobs and guys like Billy Joe Saunders and saying that they want to get paid what they're worth. But for me, it's always about from the perspective of Jacobs and Saunders. You may not get paid what you deserve, but you got to look at it from the perspective that you're partaking in a sport, right? Sports is all about competition and really trying to prove yourself as the best, right, in your competitive field. And I know I may be sounding a little bit contrived right now, but don't you want to prove to yourself how fucking good you are? Like, I understand finances are huge, but if Triple G is still willing to pay you the most you've ever been paid, maybe not to a greater margin that you wished, isn't that still good enough in terms of the challenge? Just the whole concept of a sport is to challenge yourself and fight against the best. And you also got to consider the risk that you're undertaking, but also the benefits you can possibly attain once you potentially beat that opponent. Like, isn't that the whole like idea of sports? You know, I'm not trying to sound like some fucking 6th grade gym teacher right now, but like for me, it's about a competitive nature and just wanting myself to fight the best. And even if I'm getting shortchanged a little bit right now financially, just think about the potential outcomes that you can reap, you know, from potentially beating this guy. And to me, like, that's completely dead in this sport, right? It's these guys that are constantly putting their quote unquote financial worth ahead of the challenge that's right in front of them. And it's like, what happened to the days of just wanting to fight the best so that you can overtake his position in your respective weight class? You know, and the same can be said about guys like Danny Garcia and Broner, you know, with the way that they ducked, you know, Manny because of financial reasons. It's like, you know, what happened to those good old days, man, where you're just trying to prove your worth?
Yeah, preach. But, you know, like, if my boy KH was on the line, or as I like to call KH, the golden surrogate, he would say that Danny Jacobs is, you know, he never received a contract. Which, I don't think you need a contract to make a fight, to be honest. I think you should just call him out, get him in the ring, do whatever you have to do, make the fight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to Daniel Jacobs in a second, just to follow up on what you originally said about Andre Ward and Golovkin. You know, time's a funny thing. You know, back in the day, we were saying we were pretty much shitting on Ward for not fighting Golovkin, or, you know what we were saying back in the day. You know, we were pretty much on Golovkin's side in that whole affair.
Yeah.
You know, time's a funny thing. Ward is the one who's moving up in weight and fighting Kovalev. Golovkin is waiting like a 13-year-old girl in Canelo, and he's letting his career go past. He's just, it's sad. Like, it's really the most frustrating thing in boxing at the moment is watching a guy with that talent really getting fucked about like that.
He's about to turn 35, and he's made it his mission. And I mean, I guess I give him credit for it, but he's just unrelenting in this idea of he wants to be unified in his weight division. But like, who the fuck cares? I mean, we've said it so many damn times. Belts don't mean anything anymore, you know. And it's funny, like, I'm getting all riled up about this fight against Danny Jacobs, but from Triple G's perspective, you know, who the fuck cares about Danny Jacobs, man? Like, Danny Jacobs versus Peter Quillen, that did shit numbers in Brooklyn, and both of those guys have New York ties, and you can't even generate interest in a fight between two guys who are supposedly in the top 5 or top 10 on 160 at that time. So if you're Triple G, it's like, who the fuck cares, man?
You know, fucking Golovkin's like belongs to a bygone era where honour and tradition was what mattered. He's like the Ned Stark of boxing, and all these guys round about him, like Canelo, are like Cersei Lannister. You know, they're just waiting in the wings just to fucking stab him in the back. You know, they're just waiting on him to fucking let his guard down and then boom. They're the king. That is like, it's, in a way, it's like, it's admirable what Golovkin's doing, but in another way, like, it's naive, it's shit par. You're meant to be the guy who's carrying the sport now. It's all on you. Meantime, you're fighting welterweights, and might be the best welterweight, might be the fucking man at 147, but still, it's not a fight where if you win, you're expected to win. If you lose, then fucking your career's over. You know, you're never gonna get that fucking momentum back. You know, people aren't gonna dance along to your White Stripes song next time you fight. If you lose to Kell Brook, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that song's shit. You're shit."
Yeah, and Cam, I know we've gone a little bit longer than you expected. I'll let you wrap up the show, but just one more rant that I have to just let off my chest, and it goes back to boxing. And what really drives me crazy, I think more than anything, is just the he say, she say mentality of the sport. You know, we're talking about guys' contracts who we have no idea what's really truth or not. We don't know what the facts are, you know, but that forces all of us fans who probably don't know shit about, you know, contracts and negotiations and things like that, have to speculate on something that we don't know anything about. And the fact that boxing has no kind of unison, has no organization, makes it that much more difficult. And to add on top of that, there's really no credible journalists in boxing. You know, come on, Ellie Sackbeck is the most famous journalist in boxing. That tells you everything you need to know about that aspect of the sport. So, I mean, who the fuck do we rely on to get the facts? You know, all of our quote-unquote journalists are biased as fuck. They all root for one fighter or one camp or one promotional company, and we can't get any kind of factual evidence from any of these guys. And constantly, it seems like with our show, even more than actually talking about the fights, we're talking about a he say, she say type of situation. We're talking about, oh, well, who provided what, who, you know, what kind of contract was sent over, how much was this person offered financially, when we really don't know what the fuck we're talking about, you know. And that's obviously not a good sign, man. We should be talking more about the sports and the actual fights that are taking place, rather than this, you know, this supplementary bullshit that really does nothing for us, you know. And it's making boxing fans root for a specific fighter rather than the fights themselves. And even more of a joke, it makes us root for fucking promotional networks and TV companies. I mean, just think how stupid that is, you know? And it's a joke, man.
Yeah, it's like that NARD song, you know, oh, baby, you want me? Oh, you can get this lap dance here for free. You come into my gym, you give me coverage. I'll root for you. You're doing it. These reporters and whatnot, they're really... They're giving coverage to guys who give coverage to them, and it's like a back scratching shit that really kind of leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
Yep.
Well, that's it, man. That's all of the whining and complaining I have to do today. But it sucks, man, because I really do love watching the sport when it's that high quality shit, man. When it's that freaking Frampton Santa Cruz stuff, like, that's a beautiful action for me. And you know, it sucks, man, because even when I was at UFC 202 with McGregor versus Diaz, it was a fun fight to watch, but it just didn't have that technical, you know, brilliance that I love from boxing. And but it's just hard, man, when these opportunities are so far and apart. And you know, like Drew mentioned, it's like a shining star. You know, you only get to see it 2-3 times a year.
Yep. Drew, you got anything else for us?
No, I'm good. Even though it's been a quiet week in boxing, I've enjoyed this pod. I've enjoyed this chat. Hope everyone listening enjoyed it as well.
Yep. Good time to vent and get our frustrations out. But I just want to correct myself earlier. I said that Willie Monroe fought Brandon Adams in his last fight. He fought Brandon Adams a few years ago, but his last fight, it was John Thompson, who also fought Brandon Adams. So apologies for that. Lim and Chu, great kicking it with you guys. Thank you. Thanks to all the people in the chat, and thank you to all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
I did. Man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically burning you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Do we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you? He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you ate for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.